it really is a case of digging in to the ground, which is trying to suck you. Love is trying to suck you up. Love is trying to suck you back into itself. All right, let's stay on the topic. We are in a frequency that you may be tapping into in a way that you're aware of a shift that is shifting at a rate really through your own choice. So if you're meeting me in this video, then you're not resonating with me. If you are resonating with the video, it's not the body you're resonating with. We are resonating with the frequency that we speak through. The messages and the energy is what we are relating to now. Because the frequency is picking up. If you're choosing truth, if you're choosing love, if you're doing the work, you could say, there is another reality of a slower pace where things go this way. But if you're watching this now, we're in a frequency of, basically, as I've spoken about before, where as each door gets pushed through, the doors get narrower and narrower of what you're allowed through. Where once you could bring through a lot of baggage, you could still keep a lot in the system, a lot of self-limiting concepts, a lot of doubt, a lot of even keeping certain jobs, keeping certain relationships going, which used to rotate at a certain frequency, and you find that maybe one party out of the two, either the workplace, whatever the energy of the job was, whether it's a relationship, whether it's even certain family members, living with certain family members, you'll find it increasingly hard to stay within environments that you can now perceive yourself to be rotating at a frequency of truth, you could say, because we need to start looking at this in terms of what Tesla really was speaking about when he came through with, if you want to know, reality in its deepest form, if you want to know the secrets of the universe, think in terms of frequency, energy, and I think it was vibration. I can't remember if that was even the three, but energy, to me anyway, energy, frequency, and vibration. So when the frequency is picking up and truth is becoming more and more of a focus in your life, and truth is all you want, honesty is all you want, the work is all you're really looking at, you start to compromise less and less on what you allow through the door. Because at a certain point, those that don't match the frequency or places you find yourself, we're not projecting onto these images. We're simply having the respect for ourselves that we see that the reality that we're creating moment to moment is not matching up with how we feel as a reflection. And so the reflection of reality will mirror how you perceive yourself to be. So, like I said before, certain things won't be able to get through the doors as you seem to get closer and closer to the timeless nature of yourself, which linearity starts to get burnt up actually through these doors. Time, progression. Let's say the word vulnerability here as well, because vulnerability is always something that I would teach to, let's say, a group of men, for example. Like I've spoken to groups before where they're coming from a place of real suppression of their vulnerability, suppression of their emotions, and it's quite early stage stuff where be vulnerable, open up to yourself in this way. And that's fine to a certain extent. But at what point does vulnerability become indulgence? At what point does feeling into emotions become staying comfortable with limitation? Because at a certain point, you have to start seeing your powerful nature of empowerment. The juice that we get sometimes out of certain practices starts to become a hindrance to our ability and our willingness to get through certain gates, which really is revealing that you've never gone through any of the gates. The gates have kind of just come through you. So I would say vulnerability, even at a certain point, we move towards this powerful nature we are. The frequency, as I was speaking about, is basically, if you're rotating at a quicker frequency, you're allowing more light through than if you were before rotating a slower, denser, thicker veiling. The veiling of light is a lot weaker in the mind. The remembrance of self is a lot slower. It's a lot more, there's a lot less clarity on truth, on who you are. So as you're rotating, you don't need a lot of practices anymore. You don't need a lot of these things. You simply need yourself. And to only be the self and to express the self in this density almost is the only catalyst for this frequency to pick up. It's almost as if you tune into your own frequency and you allow that to come through, and that's almost it. Like, it gets so simple at these later stages. And even later doesn't make much sense. It's almost more accurate to say these more timeless places outside of progression. So if you're matching me now in this frequency, then it's an empowerment. It's a stepping into power, because we really aren't afraid of the darkness. And I always say this because it's true. We're not walking into the unknown. To an extent, we're walking into parts of ourselves that we have not yet allowed to come into the light of awareness. The unknown is just more of you that you've maybe condemned, or you've said it's not me. You know, these higher frequencies, this infinite nature of myself. We are afraid of the power of our mind, the power of ourselves. So when we see it like that, we start to see that really we're holding ourselves back in these lower frequencies in order to kind of maintain a certain landscape, maintain a certain environment, a certain way of being, not out of usually fear of that actual slow rate of being, but we're scared of allowing ourselves to ascend, because it does take a lot more responsibility. You're not able to compromise at all on yourself. It becomes increasingly more difficult to be anything other than who you are. And that's such an amazing toolkit that the higher mind has. Is it will just make you will just feel terrible anytime you're out of alignment with self. And I've had to learn this very viscerally with sickness, like to the point where I would just be choosing love, but then anytime misalignment would come very unconsciously, and if I was to stay in that alignment, the body would just fall sick. And as soon as, like, it was strange, like recently, anytime then it would be chosen again back into the narrow straight, the body would just snap out of its sickness, almost like you're in a different reality. A complete shift to reality where the body was not in that sickness. It's like so sensitive to limitation at this stage. It's so sensitive to anything other than just truth. And even yesterday I posted a video. I was so fired up in that video. I'm going to repost it, I think. I need to maybe re-record it just with an explanation of it, because it was very intense for a lot of stuff. But at this stage, I don't care if something comes across intense, because it's an energy that is so beautiful to allow through. It needs some context, I can assure you that. But at this stage, we're not looking to limit the self in any way. These higher frequencies are about self-trust, self-love, self-acceptance. It's almost as if I remember Adam was saying, we've left this till the end, really, the self-love. All of these practices, all of these things really leading just to one last, I am enough. Who I was always enough. Who I am is the totality of everything that is. And it's like a valve that gets released. But it's cunning. It still comes up and says, this. So in this stage, in this frequency, if you're matching me in these frequencies, we're in a shifting planetary system that is so not allowing of just, limiting beliefs, limiting this. It will feel terrible. So if you ever feel like you're regressing, it's a good sign, because we're not allowing through any more smallness. We're not allowing through indulgence in just the juice of the ego. That is a thing of before, you could say, or in the darker times of the veilings. So all I can really do is invite you, encourage you to step into your own light, because that is my light, because it's our light. I can't meet you in bodies. I can only meet you in your light, which is the same light, and that's what we're meeting in. So this is about power. This is about stepping into a frequency that seems to be unfamiliar until you're in it, and you wonder why you ever wanted to step back into playing small. It's funny, once you start running into it, you wonder why you ever were in this inertia of just like really digging your feet in. It really is a case of digging in to the ground, which is trying to suck you love is trying to suck you up. Love is trying to suck you back into itself. All right, stay on the topic. Love is trying to... Love is chasing you and you're running away from yourself. That's what it is. Let's stay on topic here, okay? Love is chasing you and you're too busy in self-hatred, in running away from like trying to be something you're not. And if you allow it, you realize it's yourself chasing yourself. You just need to give it a chance to say hello, and you realize, oh, it's me. And there's just, I was never running from anything. It's just one being running around. So that's really what this is about.